but it's very hard to expand as a third when you don't have any kind of meaty units. He's gonna get a robotics facility. Something you see a lot is a robotics facility before an expansion, getting immortals out. Of course, a lot of Zerg players rely on roaches for early defense as well as early pressure, but TLO just making links. TLO knows he's expanding, and he knows this is an extremely greedy expansion, so he wants to put on pressure. He has a supply advantage, 88 supply to 77, and if he can kill these sentries, that is such a huge victory for TLO if he can make that happen. Meanwhile, we do see the layers on its way for Dario. Do you see Evolution Chamber also going to start on the Ling upgrades? Blink on the way for Tails. And the robotics facility is almost completed. Now, is he going to be an observer? Is he going to be an immortal? Okay, so he's even playing greeter. He's going to get an observer before the immortal. TLO going to go ahead and send some links here, killing off the destructible rocks. Very annoying to deal with, but Tails very much on top of it. Already has the gateways positioned in a wall where links are not really going to be able to do too much. And the composition the composition TLO is going for at this point seems to be Mutiling Baneling. You don't really see this a lot anymore in ZVT or ZVP. Actually, ZVT you kind of see it. A lot of it is Roach Infestor or Ling Infestor composition into Broodlords. But in ZVP specifically, Mutas can be very good. It died off. It's sort of coming back now. And I love the fact that he's going Mutas even on this map. It's a fairly large map. You can really catch your opponent off position, harassing into the main, moving into the third, of course. All these things can be very annoying to deal with. But Tails already has the proper tech towards that Muta tech that TLO is going for. He's going to get Blink. He's also going to go ahead and get +2 on his armor as well as his weapons. Actually, just his weapons. No armor yet being started for Tails. He does have 1-1. But here we go, man. This is kind of TLO's moment to shine. He's sitting on a healthy drone count, 78, actually no, 83 drones up right now for TLO. Even going to go ahead and take this left. Fourth expansion, a bunch of links on the map for the Zerg player. And they're both being very passive right now. I mean, I don't know exactly what Tails can do at this point. He's gonna get Blink, but he's getting Immortals as well. And there's no kind of roaches on the map at all. So a little bit of lack of scouting here from Tails. He doesn't really know when the layer is. He of course can see some creep being pooped around here for TLO. And this is the thing, man. Protoss players rely so much on Immortals and Stalkers to defend against Mutilings, Mutiling Baneling, or excuse me, just the Roaches. What am I saying? Immortals do nothing against Mutas. But anyway, Protoss players depend a lot on these Immortals to defend against Roaches. But the thing is, there's no Roaches on the map. There's not even a Roach Horn being built at all for TLO. In fact, he's just going to make a bunch of Mutas, a bunch of Lings, 167 supply for TLO, 145 for Tails, Infestation Pit on its way, possibly going to be a very quick Infestor follow-up, or even just tech straight to Broodlords. But that's already a lot of Mutas. 17 Mutalisks, a bunch of Banelings being morphed into the center of the map. And there's the Mutas making their way into the main, and Blink is done, so this is good for Tails, but that is just not a lot of Stalkers here for the Protoss player. TLO even going to try to engage again with the Lings. Not the best force fields. I know he was trying to get a little bit of a donut to try to trap the Lings, but not the greatest force fields from Tails. Meanwhile, 4 additional Mutas in production right now for TLO. Even going to go ahead and expand all over the place. TLO going to be on 5 bases here rather soon, but it looks like the engagement going to go down, and I can guarantee you Tails was not expecting Mutiling Banelings. Looks like the Mutas are going to be able to do a lot of damage here on to the Stalkers, but Tails is doing a pretty good job with his force field and his Stalker control. Going to go ahead and negate these Mutas and Lings from doing any kind of additional damage. Production tab shows 5 additional Mutas, 30 Lings in production. Harvester advantage still in the favor, actually not in the favor of TLO. 81 probes for Tails compared to 78. Maybe Tails should not really produce any more probes. It's a pretty good number right now, but TLO being extremely aggressive right now, moving forward with a bunch of Mutas and Lings. Going to focus down additional sentries. Those heavy gas units are so important to go ahead and eliminate early on with the Mutiling Baneling composition. But the expansions of TLO are up. Maybe you want to even get a few more drones in this right position, even in this left position. But hold that thought. I see a bunch of blue in the center of the map. Looks like TLO again going to engage into this. Moving forward with a bunch of more Mutalisks and Lings. You know, Tails is doing a great job of defending. But if TLO can keep this up, I think he can just pretty much break his opponent. He's ahead in supply, 173 to 161. He's even going to engage once again, completely surrounding the Stalkers and the Lings. And he's even going to blink forward. Tails is blinking forward, not the best blink at all, because the Mutas are pretty much killing all these stalkers, and Tails does not have a lot. I don't know if I agree with that blink here from Tails, but TLO now going to easily clean up these Colossi, even going to clean up some Zealots, might even want to clean this Colossi up, but TLO, man, this is his style, very, very aggressive, and Tails losing a lot of units in that previous engagement. He's even just rallying Lings, rallying additional Mutas. If he just keeps this up, I think he should have this game. Even going to kill the Colossi. Of course, Colossi do so much damage to the Lings. Not even going to get it. Oh my god, so close there for TLO to kill that Colossus, but he's just moving into the natural. 6 additional Mutas on the way. 20 Lings in production as well for TLO, and that is just a bunch of Stalkers now that just got warped in from Tails. Supply count not too much in the favor of TLO right now. 158 to 141. Even though Tails is sort of pinbacked on this 3-base economy, he's still doing a great job of defending. What is his tech? He looks like he was going to go for a double Robo. Colossi I don't think would be a... actually, you know, it'll be good against the Link. So we're going to see double Robo Colossi in production right now for MVPTaiLs. And economy for TLO still looks pretty good. Tails and TLO have now evened up the Harvester advantage. Looks like TLO even going to try to make his way into the main base, do a little bit of economic damage, but Tails very, very much on top of this, sending in the right amount of Stalkers to deal with it, as well as keeping a few units here in the natural into the third. And this is kind of the thing that Protoss players do. They have all their units on one hotkey, send all their units into the main, and they have nothing to defend this. But Tails, of course, a fantastic player, really having units all over the map. It looks like TLO going to engage again. Lings going to surround the Stalkers. A great focusing fire down, focus firing down those Stalkers by the Mutas and the Lings from TLO. And Tails has a supply advantage, guys. 167 to 165. TLO still sitting on a 5-base economy. A few Mutas here left for TLO. Now, is TLO going to go into Hive from here? That would be a pretty good option. It's about 20 minutes into the game. If he goes into Hive, there it is. So Hive is on its way for TLO. So we're in fact most likely going to see either an Ultra switch or a Broodlord switch. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes into Ultras. But Tails has a lot of units. The fact that he was going off this double robotics facility is going to give him 3 Colossus on the map right now. TLO going to engage. He's going to go ahead and focus some of these Stalkers down. That is not a lot of Mutas remaining for TLO. He does have 25. And the Blink Stalker's doing a pretty good damage. He's going to blink forward right now, focusing down a lot of these Mutalisks. They are going to go down rather quickly, but at the same time, TLO dealing damage himself, taking out more Stalkers than Mutas, but it looks like overall TLO, in fact, going to lose a lot of these Mutas. And look at the supply count at this point, 171 to 128. The Hive, I don't know if it's going to be up in time for TLO. That frontal expansion going to go ahead and get taken right now for Tails, so he is looking to be very, very aggressive with that expansion. Going to be very important to try to control this watchtower to keep your opponent from really doing any kind of damage to that expansion. But at this stage in the game, Tails is a little bit ahead. The mere fact that he's ahead is his economy is a little bit better. And you know, you want to be expanding a lot, and Zerg can, you know, TLO can even expand here, but Tails is very much on top of this, scouting around for any kind of hidden expansions. Very, very map aware as well is MVPTaiLs. Even going to move across the map here towards the left side of the map. Lings and Mutas going to be able to clean up a few here of the Zealots. Not really going to do too much, of course. These are just for scouting purposes for Tails, but that expansion is so huge for Tails. I cannot stress how important this expansion is. You know, he's going to be mining on 4 bases. Of course, it's not gold, but he's going to be on 4 base against 5 base. So TLO desperately needs another expansion, or just desperately needs a better tech. I mean, Mutaling is good, but you don't want to stay so much onto Mutaling if your opponent has this many Stalkers. Now, does Tails have any kind of storm on the map? Possibly. It looks like the Mutas are actually going to be able to do a little bit of damage here into the third. No cannons at all. Going to warp in some Stalkers. So TLO actually took a lot of probes in that engagement. About 12 probes were killed there for TLO. Even going to stay a little bit longer to focus down some of these Stalkers. Just imagine if Stalkers can blink here, these Mutas would be dead, but thank God that's not the case. But with that being said, guys, we see additional upgrades on the way from TLO. Even a Blink Stalker harass here in the left position, and Tails, his map control and his map defense is so good this game. He's going to kill off that hatchery. He's defending pretty well against these Mutas. He has just the right amount of units to go ahead and send some for aggression and, you know, keep some back home for some kind of defense. But what is TLO going to do? That's going to be my question. Oh my god, look at this. Look at this positioning by the Stalkers. That's actually really smart from Tails. But TLO, man, doesn't really know where to run the drones. He's still making Mutas. Gonna go ahead and take another expansion. I think he's gonna go ahead and re-establish this left expansion. But the army is so much better for Tails. A lot of stalkers upgrades are in the favor of Tails, sitting on 3-2. Not the best job of creep spread from TLO at this point. And you know, what can he really do? All of his units are on the right side. He is going to be able to kill a few of these stalkers here from Tails. Great use of the Mutiling composition here from TLO. But look at this, just so many stalkers, colossi, and a few sentries. That's just a lot of units for Tails. It's going to be so hard for TLO to deal with this. I mean, what is he producing? Okay, now we're going to see a Templar Archives, and once Storm hits, these mutas are not really going to do anything. Although that's a lot of mutas, 36 mutas now going to fly into the 3rd expansion. Tails knows that possibly if he engages this head forward, he should be able to win the battle. In fact, he's not even going to go back home at all. He's going to go ahead and try to do some damage. Takes out that hatchery here from TLO. 196 supply for Tails, 153 right now for Dario, aka LiquidTLO. The mutas are doing a pretty good damage, I must say, so they were able to take out that Nexus from Tails. But if they attack head forward, and with these supply counts, I'm pretty sure that Tails can go ahead and win the engagement once that actually happens. But 22 links in production for TLO, 2 additional mutas, so I don't know if I can agree with what TLO is doing in this game. I mean, I'm not going to be critical on him, but you know, when you're strictly on laying muta this late in the game, it becomes super hard to really do anything against this. Maybe a Broodlord transition would have been better. I mean, a lot of players do like opening up Mutiling into Broodlords and just camp with a bunch of spines. It looks like now he's going to try to get a few spines. Where are those spines being built? I'm not too sure, but anyway, yeah, I mean, Tails is looking in a great position right now, guys. You know, TLO is playing very map aware, as I mentioned before, really moving across the map with the mutas. That is a lot of mutas. It's going to be very hard to kind of have the mobility to engage into it. Picking off pylons, picking off buildings, even going to go ahead and pick off that assimilator. That's a very good trade for TLO. But the question is, Tails is like, alright, you know what, I'm not having any of this. I'm just going to go ahead and counterattack. Ahead in supply, 197 to 176. Going to move across the map with a bunch of stalkers, a bunch of sentries. It's just all stalkers, man. Even a few colossi in the map. 3 colossi here for Tails. This is going to be a base rate situation. Maybe TLO wants this to happen. Maybe he thinks he can actually engage into the army head forward with the cannons, are actually killing a lot of these lings and mutas. And Tails, you know what? He's actually going to split his army. Great decision there by Tails. Is this going to be enough, though? This may not look like a lot of mutas here from TLO, but it is in fact a lot, even accompanied by a few lings. So TLO, in fact, going to try to just make his way into the main. Wow. And this happens a lot. Don't be surprised. Mutiling is sort of a composition that's very mobile and can be hard to deal with as a Protoss. So it turns out to be, it turns into being a base trade here between both players, which is kind of what we're seeing. But I still have a feeling Tails has the better army. He has the better upgrades. He's ahead in supply compared to TLO. TLO only sitting right now on 116. Going to go ahead and get started on another Spire. 6 additional mutas on its way. And yeah, it's not looking good for TLO this game. You know, unfortunately, he's down 2-1. Maybe he's gonna go down 3-1 in this game. But you know, Tails played a very good game. I must say, Tails, you know, his decision making was very right on and very spot on in this game. Splitting his units, defending against the mutas, not overextending for any kind of 2-base all-in. Just got his economy up, and now TLO actually doing a pretty good damage here, picking off a few stalkers that were left behind. But the thing is, Tails can just warp in Templar, even gonna go ahead and warp in some Archons. It is just not, it's not the ideal composition or the ideal position TLO wants to be in. Although he is gonna focus down those Archons, they're gonna go down very quickly. But look what's coming across the map. There is 42 stalkers, 3 colossi, 3 sentries. Once these stalkers engage into this muta composition, it's going to be very bad for TLO. And you know what? The thing is, the health on these mutas are not even that good for TLO. So unfortunately, this looks like Tails is gonna go up 3-1 in this best of 7, guys. That's what it's looking like. TLO is still moving across the map with the mutas. You know, he can do this. He can be mobile and try to pick off things here and there, which is kind of what he's doing. Picking off a probe. Definitely not gonna pick off a Nexus. There's actually some stalkers here. Tails is not gonna blink forward. Okay, and TLO knows it's good, guys. He knows the game is over. So GG gets called. TLO going down 3-1 in this best of 7 series. Very well played. by Tails.